Hey everybody, my name is Emily. Welcome back to my homestead. And today I'm going to be puttering around the garden, doing a whole bunch of things. At least I have a list in my head of a whole bunch of things I like to get done. But it's also supposed to be pretty hot today, so I may end up going and do inside things for a while and then coming back out in the evening. But I've got my basket for my salad spinner. The first thing I'm going to do is pick some kale, because some of that is ready to harvest, and then it can go straight in the salad spinner bowl to soak in some cold water and get clean. And I don't have to use more than one thing. That was the premier kale, and there's some more yellow leaves that I'm just going to throw to the chickens. I'm going to leave the dino kale to go a little bit longer, but I'm definitely going to harvest some of this red Russian kale. It looks beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and strip these off the stems and give those to the chickens as well, because my bowl is too full to even take them all inside like that. The chickens are still a little tentative to come outside ever since the animal attack. But we've been throwing the kitchen scraps outside for them to encourage them to come out. So So hopefully they'll come out and get these. She's picking at a loaf of miserably failed sourdough bread. That recipe did not work for me. I'm going to get that bowl of kale inside and soaking before I do my next step, because I don't want these to get all wilty. The next thing I want to work on is fertilizing. Got this fish fertilizer, which hopefully will not bring every wild animal or my cats into the garden. The dogs are supposed to stay out with their colors, but hopefully this won't entice them either. I'm going to put, I think, 2 tablespoons per gallon of water in this 5-gallon bucket, and then mix it up and pour that into my watering cans. About 4 gallons. Of course, I'm not really sure where the 4-gallon mark is on this, so I'm really just guessing. I've done 2 rounds of the 5-gallon bucket with fertilizer in it, and I didn't get everything fertilized in the garden. I gave priority to the onions, my brassicas, and peppers, and before I fertilize anything else, I kind of want to weed more, and I've got quite a lot of weeding I need to do. But before I cover the brassicas back up, I wanted to show you something very exciting. Very exciting to me. Check out this cabbage. It's actually getting a head on it. I'm so excited. So I'm going to get the brassicas covered back up. My original plan was to go ahead and spray the brassicas with BT after I fertilize them, but the sun is getting pretty high in the sky right now, so I don't want to burn the leaves, so I'm going to go ahead and cover them back up and do that this evening when it cools off again. I'm going to go in and take a break from the heat and hydrate, but I'm going to make a pit stop at the barn because while I was putting the bug netting back on, I could hear one of the cats meowing incessantly, and she doesn't usually make that much noise. She's a pretty quiet cat. One of the cats actually went missing a few days ago. Oh, she's fine. Miss Daisy, the one who was hiding in the rafters before, she's become quite the cuddle bug. I guess she just wanted some attention. I'm glad you're okay, silly cat. Yes, I'm glad you're okay. She's been joining me out in the gardens in the evenings, getting between me and the weeds I'm trying to pull and trying to roll around on the vegetables to get my attention. But the other cat, Coco, has been missing for 4 days now. She just disappeared. Hopefully she'll come back. Daisy doesn't go out much during the daytime. Neither of the cats were. Mostly because of the dogs. The dogs aren't quite acclimated to the cats as much as I'd like. Not nearly as much as I'd like. But the barn is a safe space for the cats away from the dogs. So if anybody has tips on what to do with my dogs to help them get to where they just ignore the cats, that would be fantastic, because I really don't want the cats to get hurt. Jackson, especially, the bigger dog, he's the one I'm having the problem with. If I'm there, River will leave the cat alone. She will just sit there and watch it, and even eventually turn her back and ignore it, which is ideal. But Jackson will stop for a moment, but then he will be like, no, I just gotta chase the cat, which is very frustrating. These cats are not kittens. They don't really care to be held much, so holding them in front of near the dog, even with somebody else holding the dog on a leash, that's not going to work, because the cats will flip out and scratch the heck out of whoever's holding them. You know, like you could do with a kitten and acclimate them like really slowly and all that stuff, but they had access to them when they were in the barn in their crates, but once I started letting them out of their crates, I couldn't really take the dogs in the barn much, except on a leash, and, you know, we couldn't do that very often, just time constraints. So now the cats can go wherever they please. It's probably going to be more difficult than when they were in their crates. The dogs never really got used to them being in the crates. River did, but not Jackson. He would bark at them every time he would see them. He's kind of stopped barking every time he sees the cats, but, you know, it's still a concern. Isn't that right, Jackson? Isn't that right? You're hot and thirsty, aren't you? Let's go inside and get some water. It is much, much later now. Actually had lunch and then remembered I needed to make bread. So I made bread, and by the time that was done, it was time to make dinner. So we had dinner. And now I'm back out here in the evening, which is fine because it was getting really hot, and I've missed the hottest part of the day now. So it'll be a lot nicer to work out here. What I'm going to do now is thin out some of my summer squash plants. I planted 2 seeds per hole, and some of them had to germinate. So I'm going to pick the strongest one and cut the other one out. Oh, goodness, this one had 3 germinate. All right. These are all bush squash, so they're not going to vine, so they need the space to themselves. That one just has 1. And this one's got 2, but they're both pretty small, and this one's kind of messed up at the top. So I'm actually going to wait and decide later on that grouping. That's just 1. And I went ahead and replanted many of them because they didn't germinate, and most of those have started to come up finally. So I'll have to come back through. Here's another one. Happy birthday. Come back through and thin those out once they get big enough to decide between. One more. Now that that is finished, I am going to resume weeding this bed. I was out here last night and got that other side weeded, but this side still needs to be done. It's less than half the width of the bed, but I got way down from the end all the way down to about this sunflower before I ran out of light. So I'm gonna finish doing that, and then if I still have daylight and energy left, I'm going to go ahead and fertilize this whole bed. And again, I'm leaving the purslane behind unless I feel that it's too close to a plant and might be hindering its growth. But other than that, I've been taking out everything but the purslane and the things that I planted. Here are a bunch of zinnias. Back and my knees are telling me that I'm done weeding, but I'm going to go ahead and fertilize even though I'm not done weeding, because I've gotten all of that second side and kind of reached across. Sorry about the sun in your eyes. Reached across and got, between the cucumbers and the tomato that I've got planted. So I've got weeded around all of the main vegetables and flowers. There's a few hibiscus where there's still a bunch of weeds around them, but I'm not too concerned about that. The reason I wanted to weed first is because I didn't want to fertilize the weeds, I guess. I thought it would make more sense to get rid of the weeds than just fertilize the plants that I want to be there. So I'm not going to water everywhere, just around the actual plants that I would like to grow. Went ahead and watered the tomatoes as well, even though I haven't really weeded those. I did go around and weed just around the base of them a few days ago, but I had another watering can full of fertilizer, so I went ahead and used it. And that is going to do it for me for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while I did all these little things in the garden. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.